Well, welcome. Our favorite jock or jock director,
We'll take that. That's
Mr.
fair.
Jock Director.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Before I introduce our guest tonight, I want to bring up something that I thought was profound and talks about Milford. When I asked our guest the first time he came on the show to talk about his role, he talked about working with student athletes. And to me, to have a director of athletics in the school system not only understand, but take pride in the fact that we have students who are athletes really says a lot about the attitude and the values at Milford High and through the Milford system.
Thank you.
I mean, we look at you're the fastest, the quickest, whatever in Milford, and we get all excited. And then you figure that less than 0.1% of those kids are going to make a living running, jumping, doing whatever. So my hat's off for you keeping the perspective that your number one job is to teach them life lessons that'll help them throughout their lives, and then to make them good athletes.
Absolutely. We like to go with the total package.
Let's start with an introduction.
Do you mind if I just respond to that?
No, please.
That's really important to us, and it's important to the administration, the teachers, the coaches. And I'm going into my fourth year now, and I might have slipped once or twice and a couple of thousand times of saying student athletes, and might have said athletes, and I'm not joking, once or twice, but I made it very clear when I started that they're student athletes, and academics comes first, 1A. Athletics is very, it's close, it's a 2 or a 1B, but you know what? They have to perform in the classroom before they can perform after school. And you hit the nail on the head. Life lessons is everything. You got to compete. You got to compete.
Well, I remember when, years ago, the previous Secretary of Education said that he was really disappointed in some of the basketball teams, that they should set a goal that at least a third of their students graduate, the athletics students graduate. And it just hit me. I said, oh my God. Did he really go on national TV
And say a third.
and say, it's okay for maybe if we're lucky, 2/3
Yeah.
will fail.
How about 97%, or how about 100?
But that's
what we should be striving for. Like you
And-
said, few people are going to make a living. Even the collegiate athletes, the percentages decrease. Very few of them, after their 4 years in college, are going to play professionally. You got to be able to do something else. to
well,
pay the
one of our
bills,
inherited sons, captain of the Division I basketball team, did extremely well. And it was funny because they were talking to him about the trade-offs he makes between being a basketball athlete. Now, he got a full ride to Holy Cross. I'm impressed. Saved his parents $240,000. But he looked at me one night and he said, Mr. C, if I was good enough to make the NBA, I wouldn't be at Holy Cross.
That's right. Absolutely, and they know it. They get it. They understand.
There's 24 kids get really drafted and kept a year. And, they're coming from half a dozen schools because they all go there.
Yep.
But you say 24 out of how many athletes? Less than 1/10 or?
Well, yeah, exactly. If you're lucky, 1 to 3% of the kids in high school will go on to play at the and that's Division III. That's 1, 2, and 3. And let's face it, a lot more kids do make the D3 rosters. But then from there, depending on the sport, like you said, it can be microscopic. It's less than 1% that will actually get paid to play. I didn't get paid. I'm not sure if you got paid after college, but I didn't get paid after. I tried, but it didn't work. I had to find something that I love doing, and you can get a little bit of finances for and enjoy
Up
enjoy
until
life.
last summer, I was still paying to play.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wait a minute, let's think about this. I'm still paying to be on the hockey rink.
Yeah,
Never mind somebody paying me.
absolutely. We'll just take break even. Can I just
Well,
play for
I thought
free?
they ought to pay me because I provided
That's
so
great.
much comic relief
I like that.
that people could laugh at me the way I
Yeah.
skated.
They should waive the fees, right? Oh, that's funny.
So what's new and exciting in the world of athletics?
My guess is everybody out there watching knows about our softball team.
Yeah, but
Division-
before you go on there, I just laugh because I sit there and say, playoffs.
Yes.
We're usually lucky as a school system to have one team make the playoffs.
Yeah, if you're.
And I'm trying to decide which one are you going to talk about that made
Well,
the playoffs.
I'll tell you, I'll springboard off of the winter because I think it's been a while. Every team in the winter made it, which I think we're the only team in the Hockomock League that can say that. That's pretty impressive. And I
Every
am
Milford
very proud
High
of it.
team made the playoffs.
All 9 teams in the winter made the playoffs. We felt great about that. With something like track and field, you have a bunch of individuals or a bunch of relay teams. But then when you look at girls basketball, boys basketball, getting into the playoffs, the boys had a great win up in Marlboro. Cheer won the Hawk, went deep into the playoffs. I mean, it was fun. Hockey, our co-op with Hopedale, they made the playoffs, had a great first round game. We were buzzing. The school was buzzing, and we're really proud of that. This is a difficult league.
Hockey made it. It wasn't too many years ago that if hockey could win a game,
Right.
we were excited.
Yeah, and I will tell you, and I'm not sure who from Hopedale is able to view us, but Hopedale will tell you that this is the first time they've ever made the playoffs, and the reason, let's say a large portion of the reason is the red and white kids that went over to Hopedale to play in the co-op. It's a cooperative, Millis, Hopedale, and Milford for sure.
Oh, okay.
So they all get together and play, and it's approved by the MIA. But I can tell you, the kids that we sent over there were top-notch athletes for sure. There's no question.
That's great, because I know they were struggling for years
Yeah.
to field the whole team.
We had a tough year 2 years ago. We only had 12 guys, which is
Right.
why we got into the co-op. We still want hockey to be an option for Milford student athletes and the kids that go to Milford. So this has worked out good. We're going to do it again this year. We're hopeful because our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade numbers are big. We're hopeful that we can resurrect hockey and just wear red and white. If that happens, I'll be the first person. I played pond hockey for years. I love hockey. I'll be the first guy to get behind it and resurrect it completely and independently at Milford. But until then, we're happy to join with.
Now,
with
I got to
Hopedale.
ask, what's with girls softball? How is it? I mean, you sit
tell
there
you.
and say, okay, there's 2 or 3 superstars they're
Yeah.
carrying, so in 3 or 4 years, we'll get them. And then
Good luck.
you sit there and say, I think back from Sean Smith's girls up,
Yeah.
I don't remember an off year.
No. And it may happen. It might. We're graduating 3 seniors this year.
God forbid the team that loses
I don't
the
have
game.
1 or 2 bad.
No, they're going
Right?
to sit there and say, what a letdown of a season. You lost a game or 2.
Yeah, we lost 3 or 4 games or something like that. But no, you know what? I got to tell you, we've both been around athletics all our lives, and I've been fortunate enough to be on championship teams and athlete and coach championship teams. And I saw this team in preseason, and I quietly said to myself, this is going to be a special year for them. And I will tell you, we played Taunton the first game and lost, I think by one run in Taunton. And I spoke to Coach DeVito, Coach Walsh, Coach Crosby, and I said, hey,
What a horrible season they had. They lost a game.
lost the first game of the year.
And only won the
Absolutely. But the coaches weren't panicking, but I did say to them, it's the best thing that could happen to you. And we brainstormed it like, okay, we knew we were going to be good. We just lost to a Taunton team who's very talented. Taunton, KP, Franklin, they're always good. But Taunton had a bunch of young gals out there. First, we didn't get a lot of field practice because of the weather. We lose a 1-run game. But I got to tell you, I saw the girls the next day in school, and I'm watching them. Wow, they were like just volcanoes ready to explode. You could have played at 6 a.m. the next day, the second game of the season, and they would have walloped. It didn't matter who they played. Went on a tear. I think they won 23, 24 straight. But I got to tell you, absolutely galactically fun ride. It was amazing to be around those gals, the fans, the parents, the coaches. Everybody was locked in. It was meant to be. It just
I
was.
love
It was
that they
so
won
good.
everything in softball. But what really makes a lot of us proud, not the dumbest bunnies in the pack.
No, you have a bunch of really smart gals.
With the right attitudes.
Yes.
It's not like you get these prima donna
No.
jocks that are good at a sport
No, not at all.
but don't understand.
These gals, and we could name any one of them, they're leaders in the classroom. A lot of them do other extracurriculars where they're peer mentors, or they're working in student government, or they're in clubs. Academically, they're all doing really, really well. And then they just so happen to be, studs when it comes to softball. I mean, I can tell you this without without any hesitation, the entire league was waiting to see who we put up for MVP because we arguably had 2 or 3
I was going to
girls.
say, isn't it wonderful when
How
you can't
crazy is
say
that?
it's Sally or Mary?
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
And then Emily, she gets unanimous MVP for the league. That's unheard of.
Is
I've
that
been in
right?
this league for 30 years, and you know, you'll be lucky. In my years, there was 9 teams. You'd be lucky to get a 7-2 or a 6-3. That's strong. 12-0. Gee, I wonder why she's going to UConn. You know what I mean? Like
But
that's
see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, not that I would not be proud of our girls, if our boys, whatever, if they won everything, played their, even if they didn't win, they played their hearts
yeah.
out,
They went deep in the tournament.
and they weren't strong academically. But when you look at the schools that the seniors are going to,
Absolutely.
this is not Winnipesaukee Community Almost College.
No.
I mean, UConn.
Yep.
I mean, you look at the kinds of schools.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, you know, you take the 3 seniors, and they're going to great schools. Allie Atherton's going to pitch at SNU, Southern New Hampshire University. Pretty sure Maggie Farrell's going to St. A's.
Again,
Kate-
all good schools.
You know, I think Kate DeCapo is going to Trinity. Don't hold me to that. I think she's got walk-on status, but I'm convinced she's going to make the team. She's a great player. And I will double check. I hope I don't get, you know, locked into.
Yeah, but again,
They're all going to great
it's the
schools.
caliber of the school. None of these are, you know, little community
No.
colleges that.
No, they're big. They're big academic colleges. They're big athletic colleges. You know, and it's. But the other, you know, what the other piece of the puzzle that I really am impressed with is, we have these 3 core values, and number 2 is championship sportsmanship. And I will tell you, we rocked a bunch of teams. I mean, we couldn't help it. We backed off. We didn't. You know, Coach DeVito, 3 or 4 innings into a game, he's calling off all the steals. We're not stealing. We're not bunting. We're not trying to manufacture runs, and we're still up by 10, 11. If you get up to 12 runs in the 5th inning, it's over. We tried not to embarrass teams. The girls were always we're up by 10, 11, 12. They're under control. They're behaving themselves. They're not acting like we just won the World Series or the College World
See, that's a life lesson.
Huge,
'Cause
huge.
when my
Respect,
cousin
you know?
played in Milford High, he was a kicker, came over from Portugal, and we were sitting around one night in Portugal years later, and he said, you know, the life lesson, humility, was I was always used to being a little cocky, letting everybody kick, and I'd
Just waiting.
step 5-10 yards behind them,
Yep.
kick over them.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, I like that.
He,
I can
he got a
work with
full
that.
ride to Brown. I mean, he did well. He kicked a 50-yarder here. He says he goes out for the pros. And there's this whole bunch of guys. He says, boy, did they teach me. Because I'm now pushing as far as I can.
Yes.
And there's 3 of them watching me going, oh, and going 10 yards behind
Waiting
me.
to go behind him. Yes, that's.
And he said,
It's always a
wow,
bigger fish. You
that's
got to
it.
be careful. It's always a bigger fish. You got to
and
be looking.
teaching these kids the life lesson, like, okay, so you're playing a town and you're up by 6 or 8. It's kind of nice that you don't humiliate them.
Yeah, act
You've
like-
won. Everybody knows.
Behave like you've been there before.
Right.
Because we have, and then sometimes even if you haven't, you still have to behave like you've been there before. One of the things I try to preach to the kids is, whether we win or lose, 30 seconds after a game, you shouldn't be able to tell. If you lost, be upset for a couple seconds. High five the other team when you're walking through the line, and then, hey, back to business,
Think
work,
about
and
it.
get ready to
Who
go.
remembers the scores except the coaches? You know, at the end of the day, most of the time, the coaches are the ones going to remember whether you won by 2, 3 runs, whatever, a goal here, a goal there.
Absolutely. I say to the kids a lot, you know, 1 point or 100 points. It's a W or it's a loss.
Right.
1 or 100 it doesn't matter. It goes in the books as a W or it goes in the books as an L. So.
There's very few people that'll remember who lost to the Patriots the second time. Who cares? Right? You know, you sit there.
the process. It's the what did we do to get where we are, and what did we learn along the way, along that journey, and what do you take away from it?
Especially at their age. You know, you're talking teenagers.
Absolutely, very impressionable. And
Everything is ahead of them. They're going to walk into the corporate culture, and if they try and humiliate somebody, then they're going to learn the hard way. You know, because American nature, I mean, it's horrible to stereotype, but Americans don't kick people when they're down.
No.
It's just not us.
No, it's not our typical human
And when
nature,
you
the way
go
we
into a
behave ourselves.
boardroom and you see some of these rectum, well, I can't say rectum. Rectum has a purpose. Some of these hemorrhoids
Yes,
that come
yeah.
in and it's all about them,
That's awesome.
right?
Yes, yes.
And you sit there and say, okay, so he stabbed Peter today, or he's talking trash about Peter today because Peter's not here. Do I believe he's not, or she's not doing the same thing when I'm not
What
here?
happens when I'm not in the room?
Right.
You know, it's
So
got to play nice in the
teaching
sandbox.
them to be good people, to me, is just wonderful because that really will serve them well.
It's a big part of what we're trying to do
But
across
now-
the board.
When I say what's going on, the problem you have is they're not the only ones that made the playoffs.
No, baseball had a really good year this year. It was interesting because I wouldn't say, you know, you want to say this with the greatest amount of respect. We have Aiden Wild. We've got a couple of really good, but beyond that, I wouldn't say we have like another superstar, so to speak. And I say that with the
I
greatest
feel
respect.
like the Patriots, where you got one
Yes.
or two, but the strength of the team is how they all come together.
Absolutely, it's how they work together. You know, Coach Pellegrini had to move kids around in the infield, the outfield. Blake Hill was hurt. Tyler Renault, one of our big pitchers coming back, was hurt. And yet these guys all found a niche. They found a place where they could play. You know, some couldn't throw the ball, so they, you know, played first base, depending on, you know, this player or that player. Other guys were DHing, but they made it work, and it was that team first, attitude. All of a sudden, you know, you're staring down the barrel of an 11-9, 12-8. We get into the playoffs. We play Stoughton, who's ranked like second or third.
I was going to say, not the weakest team in the area, right?
No, nobody wanted Stoughton. And we'd played them twice. They beat us pretty good up there, but we beat them when they came to Milford. So
We beat Stoughton?
during the regular season.
Oh, I was going to say.
And then we beat them in the playoffs. Everybody was worried about Middleborough and Stoughton. So first round, Middleborough gets knocked out by the number 17 seed. We knock out Stoughten went into extra innings, tied after 7. I think it was 3-3. I think we ended up winning 4-3. It was away. We had another game here. We had a softball game actually, and you know, great situation. Everybody's excited. We draw Greater New Bedford to the next game. They get us by 1 or 2 runs. However, Greater New Bedford goes on to win the entire
I was
state.
going to say, wait a minute, Greater New Bedford, and again, you drew another weak team.
Yeah, exactly, right? Baseball factory, you know, very similar to Milford, King Philip, Stoughton, these teams that just, you know, Middleborough just put out teams every single year. So we weren't thrilled about losing by any means, but in the end, it ended up being a respectable loss.
If you're going to lose, okay, you lost to the team that nobody could beat.
Exactly, state champions. So I'm sure Wachusett is saying that about, you know, Milford softball. If we had to go down,
Yeah.
we'll take our lumps
But
with
you know,
Milford. So
you talk about New Bedford being a baseball factory. Don't people look at little, I mean, I call it the center of the universe,
Yes.
but there's
as do
28,000.
I now.
We do pretty good for a little town.
You know what, we do really well, and we're continuing to sort of spread our wings in the league. I'm trying to think. Track is, you know, boys and girls track. We had kids that won the league this year. We had relay teams that won the league that went on to not only to the divisionals, but went on to the All-State meet. We had kids that went to the New England meet. You know, Christina Speliakos made it all the way to New England's. You know, Cam Clark was at the All-State meet. You know, we had. Take a look at this. We're in a league that is so powerful. You go to the state decathlon, right? These are think about it, arguably the best athletes out there.
These are the creme de la creme for
Right.
this area.
10 events over 2 days, and the league goes 1, 2, 3 in the state. Now that's your top 3 guys, okay? So North Attleboro wins it, King Philip gets second, Milford gets third. And everybody's just staring around going, well, aren't there like
Other teams?
20 other leagues in the
Yeah,
state? Is there anybody else that wants a piece of us? And I think the league was very, very proud of that. And we were too, because we've broken into that upper echelon of the league and winning championships the last couple of years and the girls are on the brink of breaking through. You know, we feel good about that. Our boys volleyball team, I laughed at the beginning of the year when everybody's like, oh, you didn't make the playoffs last year, you guys are losing it. I said, well, we wait and see till it's over. You know,
Yeah, but wait a minute. You can't, you know, one of the things I have a problem with is like this year's softball team. oh, they lost a game. What
Yeah.
a horrible season.
There's 20 of them. There's 20 of them.
Keep it in perspective.
Absolutely. You just take the boys volleyball team. So with 3 games to go, we have to win all 3 of those matches to get in. And we're not talking. We were lucky enough. We've been an independent school for a long time because the Hockomock League doesn't have boys volleyball. So we were fortunate enough. We applied to get into what's called the WAC, the Western Alliance Conference. There's a SAC. There's a Southern Alliance. It's all these independent volleyball teams
They
that
should
come
have come
together.
up with a better name than the WAC.
Yeah, I know. There's some other bad ones. I didn't want to give you the acronyms. The other ones are worse. So we got into the WAC, and you're talking Medfield, Millis, Boston College, Xaverian. These are not easy teams to go. I mean, Millis, the little town of Millis, one of the best volleyball programs in the state, maybe New England. So we had to defeat, BC High was on the list at the end of the year. I want to say Xaverian was a team, but what do? We win 3 matches at the end to get into the playoffs. We draw Millis. We come within points, 25 to 23, a loss. But let me tell you, Millis was pretty quiet during 2 of those 3 games that we played him. And, it comes down to teamwork, expectations, and accountability. And our coaches are expecting excellence. It's, that's that first core value we talk about, relentless pursuit of excellence. Nobody cares what your record was last year. Nobody cares what you did yesterday. Work hard in practice. Bring it to the table for the game. Practice, plan, and play to win. That's what the coaches are doing. I don't care if we're playing a team that's 17-0. We're still game planning to win. We're practicing, and the kids are expected to play to win. And that's kind of the way we're going at it. And I give that boys volleyball team all the credit in the world for making the playoffs and going on a small run there, because nobody except the center of the universe knew that we might actually be able to do this. So that's a great life lesson. Count me out. That's fine. Count us out. Count us down. But
Yeah,
we'll be there.
underestimate me. That's
Exactly.
just fine.
We'll see at the finish line. We'll see at the seating meeting. We'll be there while you guys are sitting over. Oh, you're not at the seating meeting because you didn't make it. And we have that chip on our shoulder, and I like that. We're ready to rock. Any day of the week, we'll go. And I just, it's fun. It's fun.
We can tell. So what other sports are going on in the spring?
Let me see. So girls lacrosse got a new coach, Tim Dowd. He's a hockey specialist. He's our field hockey assistant coach. Took over the team. Wow. He did a great job. Just his attitude, his ferocity. I use that term. He became a lacrosse expert overnight. I knew, going into it that he was a hockey guy, he was a field hockey guy, and there's a lot of transferable skills and knowledge. But I'll tell you what, he learned everything he needed to know. There were no.
He came from field hockey?
Yes.
If he can figure out
Yes,
field hockey.
I knew. I was wondering. I was hoping you'd pick up. I watch field hockey to this day, and some of the calls, I'll look up in the stands, and the parents will go, "What was that?" And I'll go, "I'm not really sure," because there are so many idiosyncrasies rules. You don't know. Sometimes you can chip it, sometimes you can flip it, other times you can't.
It's like, okay, God created a hockey stick with a
Yes.
side and a backside so you could do a backhand. No.
And you can't use the other side of the
No
stick.
backhands, and it's like,
It's hard.
okay.
Very challenging.
If you got a great slap shot,
Yes.
sorry, no, you got to be in.
That's right. You got to be within a certain amount of feet of the goal. So he had that, brought it to our lacrosse team. They won a couple games this year. I think in a year or two we're going to be exactly where we want to be in this league.
Wow.
Boys lacrosse won a couple games this year. We feel really good about that, where they're going. The one thing I would love to mention is that, we were recognized by the MIA, not for 1, not for 2, but for 3 educational athletic activity awards. Now, in my opinion, we've received 1 prior to that in my 3 years here. And if you can get 1 every 3 or 4 years, you're doing really well. But one of the things we've done with our teams is we've strongly encouraged them to adopt something in town or adopt a cause or take on something to help your community. That's sort of one of our core values. That's an undercurrent of what we're trying to do. Give back, So what happened is the baseball team was recognized, the only team in the state to get, the only baseball team. They choose 1 team in every sport. So Milford's baseball team was given that educational athletic award. for their landscaping work that they've done for the last few years. This year it was Memorial. They give up afternoons, they give up Saturdays, and they go and they'll landscape the elementary schools just because, most of the coaches, Coach Pellegrini, most of these guys, Coach Barney, went to high school at Milford. They're Milfordians, they're Milford kids, right? And they want to teach our current generation that you should give back a little bit. So they happen to be recognized. And then our boys and girls track teams hosted the entire state of Massachusetts Unified State Championship, which involved Unified, Special Olympics, and Best Buddies. So that was, we had 450 unified track athletes here on a particular, and we had 50, it might have been 51, but we'll round it up, 50 volunteers from our two track teams volunteering. Our entire boys track and field staff, our entire girls track and field staff, our unified track and field staff was there, and then a whole bunch of people just came out to help out, and the MIA basically turned around and said, this is the best meet we've ever been to, hosted at Milford, great facility, and said, like halfway through the meet, I got called over to the administrative table. I'm thinking, okay, what did we do wrong? What didn't go well? Everybody's running around, and the gentleman in charge said, hey, this is really good. Do you think you'd like to host next year? I'm like, we're not even halfway. So we were excited. We feel really proud about that. We host a lot of games for the MIA now, lacrosse, soccer. We've done volleyball in the past and whatnot. So we feel those are educational community service awards. And we grabbed 3 out of maybe 12 in the entire state.
Well,
We feel great
you bring
about
up
that.
things like Unified, where typical kids play alongside of Special Olympics athletes.
Yes.
You bring up Special Olympics, Best Buddies. Those are incredibly important programs.
Huge, huge. These types of things, activities or opportunities were not around when, I'm ancient. I'm
Not as ancient as some, but
playing in the 80s, in the early 90s in college. But I will tell you, and I'll tell just about anybody that will listen, if you want to have a good time, if you're having a bad day, go to a unified practice, go to a unified game or meet. We just added unified bocce for next year. We're one of the only public high schools in the state of Massachusetts that has 3 bona fide unified teams. So we have unified basketball, we have unified bocce now, we have unified track and field. And I got to tell you, I love to go to their games, their meets, their matches, because everybody's fired up. I mean, everybody. The sidelines, the fans, the kids competing, the mainstream kids are competing with the Special Olympic kids. I mean, it's just, nobody cares what the score is when you're done. They
I
really
have a
don't.
complaint against the person running the Special Olympic swim meets.
I don't
I
know.
put 2 days into taking pictures, and she posts 1 picture on Facebook when I was sleeping.
Okay, all right. So yeah, they got to ramp it up.
Yeah, I
Let's
was
step
saying,
it up
I
a
have a
little bit here,
complaint
right?
against her. And it's funny because
Give me an email. We'll get them
when I
wrong.
was here tonight at dinner, I'll see my daughter tonight.
I was wondering. I didn't want to.
Oh yeah, no,
Listen,
it's her because she puts
she's
it in my
amazing, though.
calendar.
She is so committed to those kids. She does a great job.
She's got a passion.
She loves it.
Yeah.
You can tell. She loves it.
But it was
It's,
funny because
I'll give her a hard time though when I see her.
Saturday we're at Harvard all day till 4 o'clock because they had to feed the athletes at 5. They ran out of time to do the backstroke and a few things.
Sure. Yep.
I had a trade show on Sunday, so I said, I can't make it. Of course, she goes, oh, just give me the camera and I'll take pictures.
Oh boy.
I'm like, really? You don't stop for 2 seconds.
Yeah. When are you going to take pictures?
But I love when she goes, but Dad, don't worry. It's only the special needs kids. They don't need pictures.
They don't care.
It's like, okay, pull the dagger out of my heart.
Yeah.
And somehow I'm there at 7 a.m. on Sunday till 11:30 when I had to run to get to the trade show.
Yep.
But you could see it. I mean, she knows she has such a passion for these kids.
My perspective on Unified is, and more kids are competing for Unified, mainstream kids are joining, and I tell them, everybody wins. Everybody learns something. The mainstream kids learn, about challenges and difficulties, and they learn that, you know what? It's about attitude. Don't complain. Just push forward. And the special population, they learn to be around the mainstream kids, and they create. Look at Ryan Gray and Marky Mancuso. I mean, They're
Yeah,
buddies.
they meld.
They are just friends. They get together on Thanksgiving. They spend Christmas together. These guys are legitimately, and there are others, but I think everybody knows it, because that was a special snapshot that the MIA did with Mark and Ryan, because they saw them at some of these, events, and they were like, these guys are really just good friends. They're like, you and
They're
I have
like
friends outside.
typical kids in high
Yes,
school.
and that's
And
what
could
you're
you
trying
ask
to do.
for
That's what you're trying to
anything
compete.
more out of that program?
That's it. It's it. I got to tell you, I love going to those games, matches, and meets, because everybody is excited and nobody's moping if they lost, and nobody's really going crazy if they won. It's a high five and everybody's hugging, and you can't tell who won or
It was
lost.
100 years ago when Jen Walsh
Great gal.
drafted me. I had no idea.
It's hard to say no to Jen. She's awesome.
But she goes sneaky.
Yes.
Because she called me and said, we have a problem. We want to start the soccer program, Special Olympics in Milford, and we need to find a coach today or the kids can't play.
What do you say to that?
I'm already coaching
Yeah.
teams.
Yep.
And
But
I'm
she'll
scared
find
to
a
death.
time frame and a
And I'm
facility
scared
for
to
you.
death, Peter, because
Yep,
I'm
for
like,
you to
I've
coach
never
at,
coached
yeah.
special needs kids. Scary. I mean, could I let them down?
Yeah.
Then I find out, sneaky Jen went to my daughter and said, how do I get your father to coach? And Lexi said, just call him and tell
Use
him
these angles.
if he doesn't sign up, there'll be no team.
And she knew that you wouldn't. Oh, that's awesome. But you know what? I guarantee it was one of the best seasons you've ever had.
Those years, now I was always fortunate. I coached for 14 years, Bays and Maple, and my parents were wonderful. But I can tell you, the special needs parents are some kind of special.
Yes. Yes,
And
without
the
a doubt.
kids, if the kids weren't doing what you want, and I had my girls from when they were 6 to 14, 15, so we went through some times.
Absolutely, I'm
They're
sure.
teenagers, they were great kids, but we had the rebellions.
Doesn't always merge or meld on the
But
courts
never on
and
Special
fields.
Olympics. If these kids weren't doing what you asked, it was because they didn't understand.
Right.
Never had a problem.
No, they're willing to do what you want them to do
And
physically.
the parents, you couldn't ask for a more appreciative group, even to this day.
That's been my experience as well.
I mean, I go and take pictures at Best Buddies, and the parents are all there. It's, parents you grew up with, and amazing.
No, they're great people. The whole environment, the whole situation is just tremendous. It's and there's a reason more and more people are gravitating to this opportunity. That's what I would call it. These opportunities, because it's fun and it just feels good. It feels great to help each
It's
other.
funny
both
because I'd love to
groups.
say I did it to help the kids, and yes, that was part of it. But I know I got more out of them
Exactly.
than they ever could get out of
what
me.
a great way to. That's a great way to encapsulate that. It really, you probably started out for the right reasons, and then in the end,
No, the
becomes
force vector was definitely this way compared to that way.
but in the end, it becomes a little selfish, doesn't it? Because you're like,
Absolutely.
you know what? I want to be around these folks. I want to carve out time
They
to
come
hang out
running
with
up, you get hugs, you get high fives.
them. And it's genuine.
But that's
it's
it.
genuine.
It's pure.
Yes. Yep.
You don't see them being fake. You don't see them playing
Nope.
games. It's just pure love that these kids
Yeah,
have.
it's awesome. It's one of the best things we do. It truly is.
So what else is new and exciting at the school?
So we will be hosting our 3rd annual Leadership Academy, thanks to
My hat's off. Explain that, because that is so important.
there's been an evolution too. I'm really excited about this. So the league, again, I've been in this league for 30-something years as a competitor at age 13 all the way through high school, coaching since I was 21 in the league. And, so I know a lot of people. I knew all the other ADs before I came into the league. They were all folks that I was, pretty well acquainted with. And long story short, 3 years ago when I started in December, I just had always wanted to put something together to teach and encourage captains to be better leaders. And one of the first things I do in the Leadership Academy in the first 5 minutes is I say to the 60 or 70 captains that we bring in over the summer with the help of the boosters and Milford High School and our administration, all of our coaches volunteer. There's nobody gets paid. It's not about money. I say to them, okay, do me a favor, put your hands up, tell me the time or the place or the training that you've been to that's going to allow you to be a great captain this year. I'm giving it away now for the ones that are watching, but it's okay. I'll give away the first, the launching pad for the first day. How many hands do you think go up?
None.
Zero, because it's not out there. There's no training. There's nobody, I was fortunate to be a college and high school, a captain in high school and a captain in college, and never once did a coach ever sit me down and say, I want you to do these 5 things every day. I want you to do these 10 things each week. It was lead warm-ups, keep everybody out of trouble. And I don't want any baloney.
Most ADs aren't really focused on that.
No, probably
Win
not.
some games.
Yeah.
Don't cause any problems.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
And yeah, be good kids along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, all of them want to help, the majority.
Yes.
Want to help the kids grow. But I don't see anybody but you saying, no, I'm going to invest personal time into putting programs together that'll make them successful CEOs,
Yes. That's
janitors, whatever.
Be the best janitor you can be in. I appreciate you mentioning that because I never talk, I don't say that, but we are the only school that's doing this that I'm aware of, that's putting, we put well over 100 hours into the first 2-day academy 3 years ago. Now the evolution has been, well, guess what? Now the schools that are close to us, Franklin and King Philip, they've heard about it. So now the Hockomock League is putting on captains conferences. They've been doing it for a long time. It was a little bit superficial. We knew that. So this past year, they heard about what we were doing, so they asked our staff to come in and do a 1-hour portion, a pretty large portion of it. The MIA came and observed, and then they were like, wow, this is pretty special. This is really cool what you're doing. So they then, in turn, asked myself and one of our coaches, Jay Maste, who teaches a large bulk of this, of the Leadership Academy, to come. They shut down the MIA for a day. And everybody came in and experienced an alternate version of what we teach for 2 reasons. One, they wanted to create and accentuate and emphasize what we try to teach, independent leaders. And then they wanted to see what we were doing. So I've never heard of the MIA shutting down for an entire day. I'll just be honest with you, right?
There's part of me that
them.
says, hey, MIA, this is your job.
Yes, yes.
You're supposed to ride herd, make sure that nobody causes problems.
And they do host some conferences, but I think they recognize that we went.
This is a separate
We
level.
drilled down. We went really. We took the data and we built something really special. And you're right. They have some conferences, but I think they realized it was not on the same level. Let's put
We
it
need
that
to
way.
have a conference. Did we have one? Check. Not, hey, what are we really looking?
What are they walking away with? And I think that's what we said. And I give our Milford, our Scarlet Hawk Nation coaches a lot of credit because we started with nothing. We started with, a guy who's been coaching and teaching for 30 years and has Project Adventure. And I was in a Harvard Teaching for Understanding Institute for 2 years and this thing called the Boomerang Project. And, Jay Maste from EMC. This is what he did, the vice president. He was a troubleshooter. The department would shut down and he would go in and fix them, but he did it the way, we're an active learning. We don't just preach to these kids all day long. We give them an activity where they probably struggle, and then we debrief and we talk about how could you have done it better? How was your group successful? Why was your group not as successful? And then we talk about it and we say, there's that aha moment like, wow, if I had just done this, and then they walk away with that skill because it connects now. You were physical while you were doing it. So that's a lot of Project Adventure. That's a lot of that learn by doing that I was fortunate enough to be able to teach for years and years. But no, so now the MIA has asked Jay and I think they want us to present at the New England Institute, which will be all the New England schools, Southern Canada, New Jersey, New York. I think we go as far as New Jersey. We're talking about that. They want us to come in. And we feel like we're ready to do it, but more exciting is we've now gone from 2 days to 3 days with the help of Judy Dagnese and Lisa White at Milford High School. One of the things we wanted to do is we wanted to get out of the school. We wanted to go somewhere and have fun and learn by doing. So we're going to go to the Hockomock YMCA, which is going to cost a couple $1,000s to get 70 kids over there. Got to thank Lenny Morcone. He's going to bus us over there, and it's all being worked out financially, supporting us.
And Lenny's always
Lenny's
gruff and tough.
Yes.
Lenny. Then you look, and it's
He'll
the
do
GUI
whatever you need.
Center.
Yes. You know what I call him? And he's going to get mad at me. I call him Dr. Lenny because when something breaks, Dr. Lenny fixes it. He's like a doctor. He fixes whatever breaks or whatever. I call him, and he's always there to help. He's fantastic.
Every time we've needed help for the kids, somehow
There's
a
the
bus
critical-
shows up or
Yes.
something,
That's the common denominator, though. He's willing to help kids at any cost, whatever he can do. So he's bringing his busing resources to the table. Judy and Lisa went to the Department of Health. We had a grant to pay the $3,500 or approximately 30. Excuse me, and it fell through. Judy, Lisa, and I were devastated. We worked on this for months. Didn't come through the state money. So Lisa and Judy quietly went to the Department of Health and pitched it, and they said, you know what? You're helping kids. These kids, these leaders are going to help hundreds of
Right.
other kids. We're not just impacting 70 kids. We're hopefully impacting the culture of the school and all types of freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors. So they were all on board. Thank you to the Department of Health and everybody. But this will go back to one thing that I said 3 years ago when I mean this, because my going joke is I was born in Milford, but my parents took me to Norfolk after. So I was born here, but it's taken me 40 years to get back here. But this town will do two things. If you can convince the folks here, and I bet you'll agree with me, and please disagree if you don't feel the same way, but I guarantee you will. This town, if you can convince people that it's good for kids, they will find the finances or they will find the people. I call it people power. And I have not found a situation yet where we said to people, and we've been able to explain, it's not just, hey, we want to do this. No, we need to do this for this, and this reason because it's going to, it's going to diffuse to the rest of the community. It's going to help kids, and we're going to be better because of it. And like you said, will we get one or two more W's? Probably, maybe, but we're forging the future. That's the term we use.
Statistically negligible.
Yes, yeah.
When
it's
you think of the
microscopic.
impact you had on the
The wins and
lives
losses.
of these children, one extra, whether the girls softball, I know I'll have a bunch of softball girls hating me, but whether they lost one game this year or two, unless it was the last one.
Agreed. Now, yeah, we could argue about that.
Yeah,
and they would
but
too.
whether they lost 1, 2, or 3 games, years from now, maybe some will remember,
Yes.
but the life lessons you teach them.
What'd you walk away with exactly? The fortitude, the discipline, the vision, the things, and just that never quit attitude that we talk about all the time. It's not over till it's over.
We had that discussion when the kids were placed here by the feds. What they call the Texas kids, the kids who immigrated in.
Yes, yep.
And I remember I got 1 or 2 people came up to me and told me I was a part of the anatomy that I can't mention, because I got up and said, you know something? At the end of the day, people in Milford have never needed Beacon Hill or Washington
Exactly.
to tell us how to take care of Milford kids.
Right.
If they bleed Milford red, there are kids, and we all know I have 4,200 kids I worry about,
Yes, yep.
and
You
you
and me
sit
both.
there and say,
Agreed.
I've never seen this town. Yes, it'll growl, it'll snarl,
But they'll get the job done.
the kids won't suffer.
No. And you know what, I want to add this, and I think it's very powerful, because I think the fact that I come from other communities, I've been in 2 communities for a long time, and I don't say this disparagingly, but I will tell you, I live in one community, which is not Milford. It's close. It's right next door. But, I spent a lot of years at my alma mater, so it hurts me to say that. I'm not going to lie to you. And then there's another one that's near and dear to my heart that I spent close to 10 years at. Not every community is like this. Yeah. And I share that, and I talk about that at the beginning of the Leadership Academy. I'll say, you guys don't realize how great you have it. And I don't say that to be negative, but embrace it and cherish it, and make sure you honor it when you put on the uniform, because not every community will find the financing to do what we're doing. Not every community will have the people power. Not every community will get together and build you what you need to have the opportunity to be. We can't guarantee we're going to win. It's never a guarantee. I don't care if you're playing a team that's 0-12. It's
when
the
our
opportunity
kids,
to compete.
not in athletics, but were in the plays, acting, it was Broadway.
Yes.
I mean, I
Yeah,
laugh
yeah, I
because
gotcha.
when they first
good
started
analogy.
and my daughter took up the violin, it really did sound like she was pulling the tail off a small farm animal. But to me, this This
I
was
didn't say that,
Boston
Alexis.
Yeah, it was
That was,
Boston Symphony.
Yes, it is.
You know, and you sit there
it
and
is
say,
that
let's
important.
keep it in perspective. Any play that's put on by our kids, this is Broadway. You can't help but think.
It's the center of the universe right then and there.
then
It's important.
I look even at when Jen and Lexi do the Best Buddies pageant. It is wonderful.
It's like
the-
Miss America,
Exactly.
right? And it should be. They should feel that way. They should feel important. They should feel
The
special.
kids are dressed, they're up there. What more could you ask out of a town?
But I'll testify, not everybody is this committed. And it was, I will say this, I kind of knew, you know, from growing up next door. That's why I went after this job with so much passion and preparation, because that's the way, it's a curse and a gift. That's how I am. It's all or nothing. And I felt like this was a community that would embrace my,
And,
let's
you know,
go
you start
after it.
looking
You know, let's go.
And thinking about it, we're already talking about, well, in 8 years, there's a school coming.
Yeah, right.
And Milford High is built like a bunker. You
Yes.
can't hurt the structure.
Right.
But, you know, it'd be nice to have a field house like when I go to Shrewsbury.
Agreed. Go to
And I see
Franklin,
what-
go to King Philip.
and you
They
say,
all have them now. Taunton.
If you add them on, but we got to start now.
Agreed.
You know, and people in the town have come up, so why are you putting money away? Is the school coming?
Need to.
When?
Need
Next
to.
decade, but there's a school coming. That's how we got Woodland where it is.
Yep.
Without any tax increases.
You got to have the vision, and you got to be. And you know what? I love that school, but I will tell you that all of the other schools in our league and in the surrounding community that were built around the same time frame, and some of them 6, 8, I'm going to say 8 or 9 years. King Philip High School to be one of them. That's where I graduated from, and Canton, where I spent 10 years in. They've all built new schools. Yes, I think the structure, like you said, the brick and mortar is, but it's inside that is deteriorating.
It's
you can
40
only do so
years
much.
old.
You know?
You can do anything you want with hamburger helper. You don't get sirloin.
Right, good call. That's a good
You
point.
know,
And
so
it-
now you
it's-
turn around and say,
we got to start looking. I
8
agree with
years
you on
from
that.
now, 10 years from now, it'll be time for us to step up, build extra space for a new wing, build a new field house,
Absolutely.
and update the infrastructure. Because it would be really nice to see our athletes in a Class A field house.
And you know what? That's one thing that I would absolutely agree with. Our external facilities are top notch. There's a reason the MIA wants to come here, because when people come here and they're on, you know, lacrosse or their soccer, they wanted to come here for football. We were open, they couldn't make it work to get here. We have 2 exits off 495. We have some of the best external facilities. We had them checking in about tennis. There were going to be some semifinalist qualifier rounds that they wanted to use our tennis courts. Pheno is used all the time. I mean, we have the best outdoor external
And,
facilities.
you know,
we got to
think
match
about
that
it. We
with our
started
indoor,
talking
right?
to the Parks Department because about 3.5 years ago, said we need more fields. No surprise, we get so many kids involved.
Absolutely. It's a great problem to have.
And the idea came out about doing fields up on Route 140, 2-point-something million. And we just looked at them and said, guys, we can't. We got Woodland coming.
Yeah.
That's 34 million of our money,
Absolutely.
28
That's
it
a
ended up.
big
But that's a $60
cookie.
million project. Well, every year for the past 3 years, we've tucked away 200,000. Because
That's
we
awesome.
said when we get to 800,000, we want the Parks Department to go figure out where they can put a new turf field.
Huge, huge.
You know, and nobody wants to say it, but we know where there's only a couple places that
would be
make
able to-
sense.
Yeah.
But you start thinking about investing in another turf field. If we get lucky, and it looks like we will this year, we'll put away the fourth $200,000 installment.
Love it. Love it.
Set the Parks Department to say, go figure out what it's going to cost us. And hopefully next year we'll have the $1 million we need.
That would be fantastic.
And then you'll have not only the football field,
Yes.
but you'll have another one
Yep.
either there or Town Park, wherever they decide. But chances are it'll be on the high school.
And you know, and you know what? You know what I love about that, and this is what I think is bringing folks back to Milford, kids who might have been school choicing out or going to private schools or going to technical schools or whatnot. You know, we are now. It's that type of vision. I can tell you, the community that I live in, the communities that I'm aware of, they don't think that far ahead. They don't have the vision. They don't have folks on the committees that have the wherewithal to say, let's put a little bit of money. They got to do it all in 1 year, and then guess what? Can't do it.
Right.
You know, I'm coming.
Well, I
my
mean,
alma mater took 22 years to get one turf field. That's embarrassing. And I would say that out loud. That's embarrassing because they didn't plan
but
properly.
you know, it was funny because
You gotta make
for
it important.
12 years, 13 years, why are you building up stabilization? 9 million, 10 million, 14 million. School coming.
Absolutely.
And then when
Get
Woodland
ready.
came in, I believe the town would have done it anyway, but it was so much easier to say, hey, by the way, unlike towns around us, because one of the towns did a school, and they're handing you a debt exclusion of $500 every year.
Yes. Yep.
Bad enough our taxes are where they are.
Yep.
But then you get, oh, by the way, here's another $500.
Yeah. Throw this on top of it.
We were able to do it inside of our normal budget.
Absolutely. And that's another thing that just blows people away. I live in a town where every year another 175, 250, and you can't see where it's going.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there are so many people that walk the track. There are so many people that are out there, you know, on the walking paths. There are so many people that use the external facilities, the entire town. I'll tell you one thing real quick that I'm excited about because nobody except Milford is doing what we're doing this fall. We are in a unique situation where we're going to be able to host varsity, JV, and freshman games for our what I call the turf teams, the soccer teams. I have got to the point now where I can't even answer the phone because so many schools around Massachusetts are calling up saying, we will come play at Milford. We don't name the time. Varsity, JV, freshman, we can have a night game. A night game? JV and freshmen can come with our varsity team. And, you know, we've locked in as many as we feel we can right now. There's not, to my knowledge, I'm sure I'll be wrong somewhere, but I don't know about this. I really might be correct 100%. There's nobody else that's doing that.
Well, see, and again, when you look at what we're talking about for the future, one of the things that we were under the impression is the night lights are filling up our field.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
So now you turn around and say, okay, how do we get more? Well, again, we've been putting $200,000 away, and the Parks Department came to us and said, going to cost another $2 and change to put
To make
lights.
this happen, yep.
When we say we turf the field behind the high school,
Yes.
we're going to do it. And I asked, the plan I want to see is that everything is set up, all the bases are in, everything for lights. Probably can't afford to do it year one.
Right.
But like Pheno Field, we had to wait 3 years, put money away. But the key is going to be when you do the field, set the bases up so
Leave the
that you
portals there, yes.
don't ruin the field
Right.
a year or two later.
When you go to do it.
And then all of a sudden, how nice will it be for you if you've got 2 lit full turf fields
Unbelievable.
and then a 3/4
Unbelievable.
field that's lit at Woodland?
Unbelievable. Because at that point, and I can tell you that, and I swear, you know, so we hosted the state finals in soccer this year in the fall. The finals, the final 2 games for 3 divisions came here. And I can tell you, people were asking to talk, who's the site director? Where's that? And I'm thinking the first game, I'm like, okay, all right, what did we not do? What
Right.
And
They got to be upset at
they got to
something.
be upset. And I had at least a dozen people say to me, thank you. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know what we're very proud about how we set things up. And I said, well, can you just tell me what you're thanking me for? Like the first 2 people, they're like, your away stands are just as big as your home. I said, that's Milford. Welcome to Milford. And that's a term we use a lot now. Like our coaches say that, our kids are starting to say it when people say something that is unusual to them, but it's normal for us. We're actually thinking about getting T-shirts that say, welcome to Milford, because this is how we do things. This is how we roll.
Well, you joke, but it's like I looked at my daughter and I said, you're finally a true Milfordian. That's 3rd generation Milford,
Yes,
and
yeah.
you live within 2 miles of your mother.
parents, yeah. I've heard the joke. That's
You know,
awesome.
and you laugh,
Yeah.
but you sit there and
But
say,
it's true, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And then when you look, I mean, for how many times I've said, we've got good facilities, we've got good infrastructure, but what makes Milford special are the teachers,
Yes.
the coaches, but
Agreed.
the staff.
Absolutely.
You know, and I will never forget years ago when everybody was hurting, and I mentioned it a couple times, but some of the teachers around said they would defer their raises to help the town's finance.
Nobody does that.
Well, but you sat there and said, wait a minute, you're deferring them. If I can't pay my mortgage now, how the heck am I going to pay it double?
Down the road,
Our
right.
teachers came to the FinCom, the union, and said, we'll give up our raises
yeah.
if you put the money back to the school to save our teachers.
Yep.
And you're like, nobody does that.
Nobody does that.
All you ever hear is the union members, you hear the negative, they'll eat their young.
Yep.
Fire everybody but save us. Now we've got,
I can tell you, I was on a negotiating committee at another school as a teacher, head coach, 3 seasons, all that, and we had the same situation. And the state association said to us, we were going to lose like 12 teachers. And my buddy and I, who was a Milfordian, my friend and I who were teaching there at the time, said, that's not acceptable. We can't lose these. And the guy looked at us and said, let them go. They'll find jobs elsewhere. But if you don't do this, you won't get your 3% or
Right.
whatever it was. And we were like, we can't do, but guess what? Those kids, they were in their 20s, they all got cut.
yeah,
Because that particular union wasn't willing
no.
to make the
I
sacrifices.
want my pension to grow. I want,
But-
and yet what I hear in Milford is we need.
Yeah.
And the union in
The
Milford,
greater good. That's
Did
what
it.
I like about, that's what I love about coming to work every day. And I know that's a cliche, but you know, I thought it when I was interviewing for the job, but I can tell you now, and I think it's powerful because I've been other places. I can tell you, well, this was good, this was average. Right here, red and white, this is the best because you know what? You can go generations in this town and people are proud. And people are not going to accept, well, this is average, that's good enough. Other communities will tell you that they'll find the money. They'll tell you we'll get the volunteers and the people power, and then they'll let you down at the 11th hour.
Well,
This
but
place
it's
doesn't
always
happen.
the funny part because people read in the paper that school committee and finance committee at war. Yeah, look at the last 12 years. And no matter what happens, it comes
It
down
always
to the
work-
end.
Yeah, they work it out.
You manage your operational budget,
Yep.
and the FinCom finds the money to take care of the SPED and ELL,
Yeah.
so that the typical kids don't get penalized.
And even that is such great forward thinking. I don't know anybody else that's doing that.
Well,
But that's
Milford.
powerful. That's the difference.
Welcome to
you know?
Milford.
Welcome to Milford. We got to get shirts. I'm going to get you a shirt. We got
There
a
you
shirt. We
go.
got to get those shirts going.
As always, we look at the academics, we look at the facilities. The athletics are something to be proud of. And my hat's off to this man because the AD sets the tone. But all of the coaches, you don't hear about the negative side of coaching here at Milford. Because people like Jay Mastay, I mean, he came from 3 girls. I mean,
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
God bless him.
Yep.
You know,
how he did it.
He stepped up, and he keeps stepping up, but he loves the kids. I know he loves his 3 girls. He's my neighbor, but he's one of the people. And the other coaches, you talk about our kids. There are 4,200 kids we have, and we worry about them all. And
Absolutely.
this is just another facet open. So if there are people out there who aren't sending their kids to the center of the universe, come in and talk.
Reconsider.
You know, talk. If you want to talk about that athletics, you got Peter, you got Kevin in the central office. Just come in and talk. And as always, to our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless. May tomorrow be a better night than tonight. And softball girls, don't throw bats at me if I said it was okay to lose 2 games.
I
Good
think
night.
they'll be okay. Thanks for having me. That was good. It's it's just fun to talk.
Not too long since I've been home. Been running all my life just